أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. You're watching Islamic Action TV, Guerrilla Minded Productions with myself Bilal Ali Hugh.
Myself Mohammed Suleiman.
Myself Simon Marciniak. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
You know, we made a video recently about the UK leaving
The Brexit, yes.
the Brexit, the whole Brexit situation, leaving Europe, the European Union. But I understand that there's an argument or a critique of the Muslim community. So those who are from immigrant backgrounds, those from the Muslim world that have come to Britain, set up communities, or the British Muslim community, and those who come to the religion as adults or as young people, but of their own accord, not coming from born into Muslim families. And this dynamic of being accepted, integrated, being one because we're one Ikhwan, one Muslim brotherhood, or what?
Oh, that's an interesting point, that is. What we're going to say is this: don't touch your dial. I mean, or don't switch off this one, because you have to stay all the way till the end. I know some of you see the adverts, I want to skip. I think, oh, it's so long, but this one you have to stay all the way till the end of it.
Stay locked.
You won't hear anything like this, what we're going to be touching on today. It's very important as well that you stay all the way through this particular video, and also tell your friends and tell your relatives and send it around and subscribe to what we're talking about on Action TV. The reason why this is going to be power-packed and explosive as usual in the same tenor of it, most of our videos, which are thought-provoking and mind-expanding and force you to use your critical thinking, is because we're at a specific junction in time. We know that we believe, as those of the followers of Ahlul Bayt, that the Imam Mahdi alayhi salam at any moment can come out of Ghaib. Some say he will be in Ramadan in Jummah. Those are the traditions that say, many people say this, there are many traditions that say that he will come at this particular time. But we know that at any time he can come forth and he can call that 313. Many of you might think that's mystical. Many of you might think, oh, those Shiites believe in that nonsense. But yeah, we believe in that. We believe in it, don't we? We ain't pretending that we don't believe in that.
No, ain't front.
Yeah,
no front.
We're in front. We believe that 100% that the time of evil in this world will have an end. But what we're looking at as well, which is very important as we're looking at that evil, is that what if we are supposed to, Mahdi Islam is supposed to be coming, and the Mahdi Islam is supposed to be establishing this rule of justice in the earth, and coming with Isa ibn Maryam who will be next to him, and we pray behind him in Salah. What about, are we good enough as a community? Are we fit enough as a community? Have we done all that we can? Exactly, we fit for purpose. Have we done all that we can? All that we can to be prepared for this glorious event, this tumultuous event? Are we ready for him? Or are we caught up with our own isms and schisms and prejudices and racisms and xenophobia? Now, people say Brexit brought that about. But should we as Muslims who are in this particular country, in this paradigm, in this particular social construct and religious construct, should we have a Brexit from the so-called existing Muslim community? I mean, touch a bit upon a speech that Sheikh Hanif recently was having in Ramadan nights, in the title of that, Brother Simon. Touch a bit on that so that we can expand the discussion more.
Well, his I didn't see all of them, but he made a few Ramadan talks about the interaction between what is the relationship between the Muslim community and the non-Muslim community. What should their responsibility be? He was basically saying that the Shia community are poor at dawah, they're poor at interaction, they are too inward. And one of the great benefits of Islam is to bring people to the deen. But it seemed to stop there, really. There weren't any, as far as I could tell, tools for how to go about doing that. The problem is, we know what Iranians are like. They are quite insular people. They don't interact, they don't reach out. We've said this before in other meetings. So, there's always going to be this disconnect, isn't there?
Yes, it's a very good point. Because I remember looking at Sheikh Hanif's, Sheikh Hanif is a sheikh who's from Trinidadian extraction, who the Iranian government or the Iranian religious establishment has sent to England, and he gives majlises and he speaks at the place which is an Iranian cultural centre called the Islamic Centre, and he does speeches there. and one of his speeches, as you said, was in Ramadan. The last 10 nights of Ramadan was on, as Muslims, why we may not feel inclusive in society. Why has the society not embraced us? Why do we feel foreign? He said, what kind of society is it? And I'm paraphrasing him, not exactly everything he said, but just what I picked up from what he said in my limited perception of what he said. But the idea I got from the one talk I saw, it might have been the same one you saw, but he was basically saying that we're aliens. Muslims are aliens in this society. They're not really meant to feel welcoming. And even though they're trying their best to all in education, in the religious terms, it seems as if the society is doing everything to kick back against us. And then the rise in Islamophobic attacks as well. So he was almost saying that we are almost, we're almost alienated in this country, and that we're not really being welcomed by this country. And there's so many stratas that have been institutionalized forms of xenophobia and racism that makes someone who's been born here have a kind of a schizophrenic personality. Are they Muslim? Are they, Iranian or Arab, or are they, are they British? What are they? So he said that. So with all these problems that we have, we as Muslims have got to get together, and and I think he's talking to the Iranians, obviously, who's in the room. They have to try to get together and try and make sure that this Brexit thing, they can get the best out of the Brexit. But when I watched that, what I was thinking is, who are these people that don't feel part of being British? Because I know I feel I'm British. I don't know all these other people. I know I feel I'm British. I'm born here. I feel quite British. And then I was thinking on the flip side, well, who's the we? The national winning. And if they feel like that, well, how about people like me? How I feel? I think the Sheikh should talk about people like me. You know what I mean? Because I feel exactly the way he was describing, but towards the so-called Islamic community and societies that exist, and in institutions.
I never saw the speech, so I can't really comment on the speech itself. I never saw the talk. But the theme that you're talking about is interesting, because if you flip it, turn it around and say, how do you feel as somebody from a background who wasn't born into, let's say, a Muslim culture? You're not born from Muslim parents. You're not from a Muslim heritage.
That's correct.
Right? You came to Islam by the grace of Allah in your own volition as an adult, young adult, whatever, reading books, talking to people. You came to Islam. Do you feel accommodated? Do you feel accepted? Do you feel included when you attend these institutions? When you attend these different imam boroughs or mosques or whatever? Do you feel included? Because that might be a lesson to those who feel excluded. Do they need to have, or should I say we? I've got to put myself in enough. Do we? Because I don't really feel too welcome at a lot of places. But it's not a matter of being angry or bitter. Some places there's people who are welcoming, but I'm saying it's pretty clear that there's a need, in my opinion, for a conversation that should we talk about Brexit, even a dialogue of it.
Yeah, certainly the thrust of his talk was the point of view of heritage Muslims in that particular community who go to that particular centre. What can be done to stop them feeling so victimised, or so alienated, or so removed from society?
Yeah.
So it was to a very narrow audience to maybe understandably given the people who go to that. But like you say, in terms of the wider Muslim community who are all Muslims, then we have concerns of our own, don't we? You just highlighted. So how can we feel more integrated in those societies? Do we want to feel more integrated into those communities?
I would say that if the major points of Brexit was sovereignty for this country, controlling the destiny of this country, making sure that the economic, political, and technological and industrial constructs that exist are not controlled by the people in this country, I think that those are the very, very reasons that we should consider a Brexit as those who have gone back to acknowledging the fitra and gone back to the covenant Allah made with us, that we remembered that covenant. We're not reverted back to it. We have simply...
No, we reject this. There's many of us that reject this term.
Reject this term.
Inappropriate.
So we're saying is that...
And dated.
Why, you know what I mean? I think that together was it together is better, or what did they say? Yeah. Better together. I don't think it's better together for us, because when we go to the masjids, I can talk from my experience, when they say Islamic food, it's not Islamic food. It's Persian or somebody else's food. It's not Islamic food, Pakistani food. And I think there's a problem with these so-called, a lot of the sheikhs and a lot of the Islamic institutions, or Iranian, let's just call them what they are. They're cultural institutions. they teach a cultural perspective. So when you so-called revert to Islam, you're reverting into Pakistaniism, or you're reverting into Persianism. You're not reverting into Islam in the universal Islam. Because we were speaking earlier today, they've diminished the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They've diminished his family. They create a persona of him through their eyes. So we're not, just as we need to be independent, I believe. Just as Britain wants to be independent of the EU. We need to be independent. We need to have schools. And I think our difference will be, we won't be tied to this cultural nonsense. Nobody, if the Prophet Muhammad is a black man, Simon ain't got a problem with that. I ain't got a problem with that. Bishop Muhammad ain't got a problem with that. Prophet Muhammad is a white man. Simon ain't got a problem with that. I ain't got a problem with that. But I ain't got a problem with that. We don't care about the colour of Prophet Muhammad upon him. That's not the issue. Yes, he is black. But that's just a byproduct of the facts. But that's not because it means anything great. It's not because, wow. You know what I mean? But these man, they would not be Muslim if they accepted him by being black. That's why they got to change him. So why they wouldn't have anything? Look at that great scholaress, Amina Illowes. She put the facts, let them stand where they may. But these people came at her not because she said anything unjust. It's because he can't be black. The same way when Brother Simon had to defend me at the university that time. Because they're just attacking me and saying, how dare you put a picture of Prophet Muhammad? How can you say he's black? So remember what they said, it don't matter what colour he is. So Simon said, okay then, so he's black then, isn't it? But no, he's not black. Simon said, hold on, if you don't matter what colour he was, and Solomon said he's black, why are you saying Solomon for? So the point is, yeah, we don't want the Islam that they're pushing, that they created, right? That the Jews did. When Allah goes, they change the words and then they create a definition of, call it Judaism. And we know it wasn't Judaism, it was Islam. Christianity named after Christ. But no, it's not Christianity because Christ don't even know what it's about, right? So we want Islam, we want a Brexit from your cultural imperialism, from your xenophobia. The Sheikh, you should have spoke about that, Sheikh. Because I think it's disingenuous to stand up there and talk about the external other when you know there's other thing going on right under your nose.
But isn't it easier to project that outwards about the mainstream society? Isn't it like the reform that needs to take place? I'm just saying that it's easier.
Why is it easier? He said, who's the we? Who's the nahnu? Why is it easier? Why easy?
Is it something to do with?
Yeah, the problem I have with...
Sorry to cut you, but just to finish this point, it's something about. Let's think of Ayatollah Khomeini just for a second, yeah, just to give this conversation of context. This is somebody that came along with a rhetoric, with a line of ideological thinking that was revolutionary. Let's say the Muslim community or the Muslim Ummah, not just a Shia, but the Muslim Ummah was in a certain kind of psychological headspace, but he came with something that was revolutionary to change and to shake up the society, to get us thinking, or it caused change.
No Sunni, no Shia.
No, East, no West. Islam is the best. It came with a certain level of thinking.
The best Sunni is the best Shia.
However, when you look at what's going on at the moment in general, when you're listening to when you listen to a lot of the lectures,
what did he say about the insipid?
Don't let them come back, he said. But if you listen to a lot of the lectures right now, a lot of the teaching, is there a revolutionary spirit? Not necessarily Khomeini's, but a revolution that trying to change, or is it kind of maintaining the status quo? Is it business as usual?
Well, the supreme leader is the revolutionary leader, isn't he? He's called the leader of the revolution. So it's not as though the revolution has happened and finished. They want to.
It's a trajectory, yeah. It's supposed to be a trajectory, continuous, yeah.
Like never-ending revolution. So it's basically to keep the status quo, isn't it? To have these grand words in order to preserve the status quo. I mean, the problem I was sorry to cut, but the point I was going to make is, the serious problem with the title of a talk like that is to talk about non-Muslim environments. Because as soon as somebody in that room, as soon as somebody hears, well, number one, as soon as somebody in that room hears that, they're going to say, well, somebody who's not of my cultural background is automatically a non-Muslim.
Oh, wow, that's deep.
So if you're the wrong colour, if you're a different creed, if you're a different school.
Speak on that. Speak on that. Good point.
And secondly, what is a non-Muslim environment? I mean, if you're in Iran, you're going to be there are people non-practicing, there are Christians, there are Jews, there are Baha'is, Zoroastrians.
It's the same normative argument, though, isn't it? Because it's the same like the Iranian Zoroastrian that becomes a Muslim tomorrow would not be a revert; he'd be a Muslim.
Yeah.
If you're from a culture that's not recognised as an Islamic culture,
to
become Muslim, then you got to be a revert.
You're a bang to rights revert.
You're encapsulated in prison.
If you're a Hindu, but you're a Muslim, right? Straight away from to that.
Yeah,
Zoroastrian.
from India.
Zoroastrian,
Yeah,
from India,
yeah.
Muslim, yeah.
So to talk about non-Muslim environments is a
It's a misnomer.
yeah. I mean, even here, I mean, what is a non-Muslim environment? I mean, if somebody allows you to use their space at work to do your prayers,
How is that non-Muslim environment?
how can you sensibly call that a non-Muslim environment?
How could it be non-Muslim if I was in certain parts of Iraq right now, like Raqqa, they would kill me for being Shia. But they're supposed to be Muslim, right? If I stood up and I said, brother, can you say salat, can you do your tahajjud for me right now? Or your tahajjud to see if you say Ali Ibrahim, and they'll slaughter you on that basis. Naqshbani himself said, Dr. Naqshbani said it, all Muslims want a Muslim society as long as it's in London.
Yes.
But nobody wants it in their own country. All of you are fleeing and dying in the Mediterranean. You're a nice Muslim country. You got all your Muslim milli and Muslim fitri. You got all the Muslim stuff you want over there. And you mosque and everything. But you're going to die and your child's going to drown getting across it to come to England. And that's what Farage will use in his poster. Farage will use
that don't make sense.
That makes no sense, in it?
No sense.
That makes no sense.
I don't think we're.
Let me get this right though. Sorry to cut you. So let me get this right. When I say, okay, I stand for myself, I say Brexit from these people, yeah? Break from these people, learn what we need, but do our own thing. Like Moses said, the children of Israel, go our way that we need to go. Break from Pharaoh, right? Let me finish quickly, yeah? You know what I mean? And we say this, yeah? You might think I'm crazy, innit? Just as you thought Farage was crazy when he goes, Britain will be out, right? But the thing is, there's a silent majority of people who think what we think, yeah? But the point is, we need to break away from these people. Because if their own people, who are from Arab countries, 1 million of them is in Germany right now. Millions want to come to England, they're drowning to come here. If it was so Islamic in their countries, they would not be coming here. So for someone to talk about this non-Muslim country, as Simon was saying, it's ridiculous. Because the point is, you sheikhs, a lot of you are speaking in the vacuum. The world's going around with you no more. No one cares about what you think anymore. A sister in the dinghy trying to get across, ain't not worried about hijab, and she's covered the brother and mubah. She's going to be worried about those things. She wants to get her child from this situation. The men on that boat and that dinghy, they be saying, sister, you're touching me, your water's najis. No one cares. It's only when you come with your nonsense to them that they get interested in it, innit? But when you are going to get swept away because you're out of time, you're out of date, man. You're finished, finito. It's over for you. The reality is, the world is changing. Gays are getting married now, whether you like it or not. Society's moving in a certain way. No, you're going to either get stepped on or you're going to have to start changing. Like the brother said, you can't talk about non-Muslim countries when you can do salat here. Sunni can be Sunni, Shia can be Shia. You can go on marches to eat. You can do the the Thin Cuts march against this very imperialist English death to the USA. For she's in London. You tried that in Raqqa. You tried that in Syria. You tried it in the Homs. You tried it in Malaysia. Any of these so-called Muslim countries.
It's not going to happen.
You tried it in Saudi Arabia. You see what happened to you. So we need a break. So that's what I'm saying on that point.
All right. Well, what I will say.
Well, I will cut you, but this boy wanted to jump in, didn't he?
I remember I was so.
I would say.
Leave, man, leave.
I would say that we need to have that conversation, and the reason why we need to have that conversation because what comes to mind is that lecture that you did at I can't remember the name of the university.
City of London.
The City of London, the famous City of London.
The famous City.
Wait, the famous City of London.
We're alienating the crowd.
That one, that we got all the applause, but the one we was getting all the applause for, yeah. You made an interesting point when you said that, talking about the heritage community, you said that we don't want your women, and people were angry about that because you said we don't want your women. But it's that kind of conversation where it's like, if you're being discriminated against and saying you're not welcome, or you're being implicitly saying you're not welcome, and you actually say, you know what, I don't really want to come in, take you something. People actually are offended, so you're supposed to be crawling with your hands out forever, or we leave. So I think we're supposed to at least, we need to have that dialogue.
Bro, a mother has to, after 9
integrated under what terms?
Exactly, under 9 months the child has to come out. The child's being nourished. We've been nurtured now by long enough for them now. If the child don't come out, it will kill the mother, or the mother will have to be killed. One of the two, innit? So both will die. We can't. You no longer want us, whether we're white, black, whatever we are. As long as we're not part of you, you don't want us. You don't even like people in the same village. Some of you. Some of these Asians and Persians and this. I'm not saying we don't have it in our own cultures, yeah. We have this foolish gang war foolishness amongst us, yes. But my point is, we're coming knocking on your doors, the Muhajirs, and you're rejecting us. So you have to blame you in it. Blame your mother, blame your father, we don't care who you blame on anybody. You're part of it. All of you, and the so-called young ones who we've been told, oh, we got to work with the younger brothers and young sisters because they're born in this country, they're part of it. That's rubbish, because when your parents say you can't marry such and such, you cuss off your parent, but you don't even stand up to them. In the Quran, you don't even use the Quran to justify it. You go, oh, my sheikh said it, so that's the end of the day. So you're just as bad as them. You're just as bad as them. So we now realise, just as Brexit's opened the door to the fact is, we need to Brexit from you. The so-called people of the so-called revert people, whether they're black, white, whatever, need to get away from you and form our own communities, because we don't feel any as British people. We feel like Ian Wright. He's British. He called himself British. He watched football. Ian Wright don't feel. He said, I'm going to make a parents, but I'm English, because we are. Like Marcus, when Mr. Marcus Howe said to him, when we have Darcus said to him, when we have the Norman Temple, you're French. Can't tell me. My generation, my Caribbean seed got in this country roots, got about 3 generations. You come from France and you're going to tell me about, you know what I mean?
Or Farage. Go back to France, go back to Farage.
Yes, Farage, yeah. Or the cricket test. Which cricket team you support? That shows who you are. No, we need to say thank you. We've learned what we learned, but no more going to Majalis where you speaking in your language, you don't know what the heck you're saying. No more you guys, you know what I mean, jumping up and down and cutting yourself and chopping up yourself and expect us to believe in all of that. Are you mad? Bruv, fam, you get me? Right? No more of you man saying, my sister, you can't do this and do that. Keep that to your woman. Keep that to your culture. Please don't say it's Islamic. That's the difference. Because we now know the joke. Your children listen to music. Your children into Tupac. Your children are following all the black culture. Yeah. But it's hypocrisy.
Cool.
It's shit. Maybe hypocrisy is not the right word, because we'll tell me about that. But you're doing things.
Double standard.
It's double standards. So I say we need the Brexit. I say we need to separate to the best of our ability, right? And there's no point trying to integrate with you, because you don't want to integrate with us, because your Islamic centres are your cultural centres. You go to the government and you say to them, come and have a mosque, but it's for your people, but you pretend it's for Simon and me and Bilal in it. So like, it's for all the Muslims in the community, but it's only your people in there, in it. You don't see none of us in there. We don't see none of us, your janazah. What do the burial services you've got? None of us are involved in that. It's supposed to be for the Muslim community. You got the money for the burial service from the government, but then you're using it for your people, and we have to join the membership to be part of it. You got mosque, which is only be either Qadr or Iranians can run the mosque. Iranian government, it can only be an Iranian. What happened to Islam? What happened to Islam? It's supposed to be all universal. Why does it have to be an Iranian? That's the same nonsense that they...
But it's the nation of Islam that's racist, though.
Yeah, they're racist. But the same reason the same reason their man overlooked Ali for the Khalifa. What was the basis of the man said and what name his name? The Khalifa has to be Arab. So you straight away put racism in there. Not the man's character. So you do the same thing you cuss off a man for doing it, but then you do it in Iran. Or you do it in your masjid. It's not about the
level of knowledge, not his character.
None of that.
Yeah,
None of that.
Only men can be mujtahids and all that.
All this nonsense, a man has to be legitimate to lead salah. Well, that crap, bare West Indian man, I know, can't without that leading salah. But you know that, you put that there on purpose, innit?
Yeah.
You put that there on purpose, innit? How many man lead? Because in this country, that is different. So you know this hypocrisy is, there's no other. Stop trying to pretend to the people, oh, it's not Islamic country and this and that. No, you love it here. Because at the end of the day, if you didn't like that, bottom line is why is man here? Man, I heard that people could choose to put scholars anywhere around the world, but people ain't choosing to go to Muslim countries, innit? Why are they choosing? They ain't choosing, no.
That's deep enough.
They're choosing.
Sometimes rhetoric is impressive, but you always got to watch the actions of people.
I remember. Don't start me off though. I remember when a certain brother put on the WhatsApp, you know, he's noticed over the 90s we were seen to be united as a community of so-called reverts in the 90s, but since that time we've been more divided. Has there been a plan afoot? And the victory. Hello.
No wait, you need to cool off.
A certain brother did that. Genuinely, just said he's noticed that we.
Wait.
Where's our type of thing? Fire the move. And the man came. Man came with polemics to a man, you know, and tried to belittle a man simply for asking that question: like, who is the spy? When he mentioned one spy, who is this person that's come and done that, right? But I'm gonna go on record. I'm saying it today. There has been a plan afoot by certain communities to make sure a community like ourselves, right, is not privy to certain knowledge. Just like in the Middle Ages when they didn't let you read the Bible or in slavery. Something's going on. How do you explain it? You want to keep us with you. So that's why you're for Brexit. That's why you're against Brexit. Because you want us to be like that with you, innit? Totally dependent on you like the EU. Totally, you pass all your laws, all your views. I remember one time I spoke to some sister and I said to her, Yeah, I was speaking out with my cousin yesterday on the phone or whatever, because but your sister's not, your cousin's married around to you, isn't it? And I said, yeah, but we're not into like marrying our cousins like that. It's not like how, because no, but still, you know. I goes, okay, that's your culture, isn't it? But brother, it's haram. I goes, brother, I said, that's your culture. Don't be putting it on us. But then I said, but I realised you ain't got the same, that you assume to have the same dynamic as you in your house, innit? Everybody in your house is Muslim, or when you do certain things, brother, you should do haram. It's okay for you to say because your brother's Muslim, your sister's Muslim. Everybody in your extended network is Muslim. We don't have that. But you expect us to be the same as you, innit? And the sheikhs are supposed to represent us instead of those who are so-called revert sheikhs themselves. Instead of actually explaining to these people to change the dynamism, they don't say nothing. Like you said about City of London, innit? People can expose their racist lies in their hadith, that they're man-made hadith, but the people, the gatekeepers, will still maintain it, will attack the person who exposes the lie in the hadith, exposes the lie, destroys the lie, but they will attack the person who's merely exposing the lie.
That was weird. That was a bit of a weird dynamic, man. We got to go into that. We need to make a video breaking down the dynamics of things of that nature, but we've run out of time. Brother Simon, before we close out, do you want to just drop that little gem before we close out?
Yeah, I just remembered what I was going to say. Yeah, so it's going back to this non-Muslim environment thing again, and you know, the title that talks significantly wasn't something like how do we serve our communities while we're here. It is all about them and us.
Oh, but they got to convert in it.
So obviously, so as far as I can see, the big danger of talking about a non-Muslim environment is you're going to alienate the non-Muslims further. There's nothing they can do for you to improve your situation.
Justify Brexit, then, don't you?
Because you're just widening that division, widening that. Yeah, including for people like us who are born, you know, obviously raised in, you know, British communities.
Exactly.
We're part of that divide. We're on the other. Not that we're not Muslims, but we're part of that divide of that community that cannot.
Brilliant point what you're making, because that's more division. Instead of opening the door, asking, I don't know, even if it's a swallow a cup of tea, ask the local community to come in, sit down, and let's talk about healing the divide, but not exacerbate as you're saying, innit? And widen it, and then make those Persians sitting there think, oh well, yeah, it means anyone's not me. And you're black as it is, space, giving the talk. What do they think of you then?
Anyways, you gone done it now. You gone fire. You gone done it now, man. But we did say to you, don't touch that down. This is truth hour. And until next time, when we see you again, remember to stay safe, inshallah ta'ala, to subscribe on either side.
Send the comments.
And as we greet you in peace, we leave you in peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. And we leave you in peace, but not in pieces. And we see you next time, brothers and sisters. From me, Muhammad Solomon, signing off.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak as well, yeah, mashallah.